Hi there. I'm Robert Perry. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives for District 2, Kentucky for the Libertarian Party. I'm doing the show to introduce different personalities. We libertarians come to libertarianism from a bunch of different angles, a bunch of different perspectives. So I'm trying to just get a bunch of them out there. So to help me do that, please like, comment, share, just try to get it out there as you will. Tonight, we are talking with Ken Moellman. And Ken, I still remember the day I met you because I had been one of the libertarians that just chuck money at it because, you know, I was busy with career. And I know you're okay with that because we've talked about it in you know, since.
Oh, yeah.
It's time, money, talent. You know, you give what, you know, something.
Right.
So I'd always favored money, and but then David Patterson was going to run against Mitch McConnell, and I got all excited because he was local, and I'm like, I'm going to go help this guy. So I go meet him, and there's this guy on the opposite end of this table from me, and he's looking at me, and he says, "So, do you want to be Dave's campaign manager?" And I'm like, "No."
Will you do it anyway?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I begin every conversation. Hey, you want to do this? No. Want to do it anyway? Will you do it anyway? Because, I mean, it's the LP. That's how we work.
Right. So that was my introduction to Ken Moellman. That's how I got to know Ken. So Ken, I don't know how many of these you've been watching, but I'm asking several guests about, you know, how they joined, and you joined much earlier than most of us. So what was the party like when you joined?
Well, let's see. Let's start back in 1998 when I actually joined the party. Wow. I signed up and heard nothing. So in 2006, when I heard from the party again, my first email literally was, "Hey, who wants to run for Congress? Come to Louisville on this day."
There you go.
First conversation. So myself and one other person from the 4th District went to that meeting. Okay. And I was traveling for work at the time a lot, and the other guy was more charismatic. So, you know, hey, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses.
Sure.
And so he became the candidate. I became the campaign manager. And a whole lot of what has come since is all based on that race, that we had no resources. There was no voter list. There was no list of contacts, no lists of donors, no lists of anything. At the time, the party did pay filing fees, which was awfully nice. So they gave us the $500 filing fee. Provided no support for collecting the signatures whatsoever. So we had to do that on our own. And unfortunately, because I was out of town most of the time, that fell mostly to the candidate and his wife, which I felt terrible about. But hard to get signatures in Kentucky when you're in Washington State. Funny that. But we learned a lot on that race. We did very, very well. We innovated. We did what we could. We had a lot of fun on that race. There was an incumbent who was running against the guy who had previously been in the seat and us. And we had, between the two of them, they had $10 million. We had $750.
It was really close there, tight.
Yes, very close. What we had in our favor is that the candidate was he did have very good charisma, struck up a very good relationship with the main media market's political writer at the time. And we had a really good debate performance, which we did by watching every single debate that venue had put on for a decade. And has paid a special attention to the ones where there was a third party or independent candidate to find out what we were walking into. And we also rehearsed and worked on a lot of things we believed would come out. And perhaps the number one thing that was awesome was his answer about the Iraq War, which, 2006, right? It's kind of hard to remember that it was that just, only 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but coming out of that, I learned that we really needed to build a party infrastructure, that it was really in many ways wrong to ask people to run for office and then say, okay, thanks for running. We have nothing else to give you.
Right.
Good luck. And
here's a shiny L you can put by your name.
Right. It's like, and then you get the answer, what's a libertarian 800 times on top of it. Congratulations. So the point, I guess, is that my goal became trying to build the party out, trying to build the party down, trying to get local as absolutely possible. Because the reality is, when you're out running a congressional campaign, I have no idea when the county fair in Boyd County is. I don't live in Boyd County. It's 2 hours from my house. I can't know when it is. And even if I look it up, I don't know what day the best day is to be there. Because every county fair has the best day, right? It's that day where all the locals show up. Sorry, my screensaver came on. And I wasn't taking a picture of myself, I swear. But you don't know. The locals.
Ken's a Unix guy, and he's also somewhat vain. So he just has a little cron job that runs every 5 minutes and takes a selfie.
Yes, that's what it is. No, I'm not. I'm going to go turn my screensaver off while I'm talking right now. So the point, I guess, is that we have the ability to do better. Really, is what it comes down to. We can do better, and it doesn't take a lot of effort necessarily. If you can find people local, it's not a huge burden to say, hey, let's go do the county fair this year, and we'll go hang out and we'll talk to some people for a few days. On top of that, we know what the best days are.
You could even do little things like, comment, share.
but it is literally just easy stuff, right? Doing a county fair. If you're a county party, the idea would be, hey, Clint, how's it going, buddy? I see some of our fans there. Clint's been around in our circles for a long, long time. And Brad, that's not true. There is no true libertarian. That is the secret to the true libertarian question is there is no true libertarian. But the point is that in and around the county, it's mainly just trying to get a county fair, keeping track of county events. Maybe larger counties might have 2 or 3 events a year, and just planning outreach and doing that kind of stuff. And then ideally, and some things I was actually planning on trying to do this year, testing out, learning from my experience dealing with people nationally, apparently knocking on libertarian doors, since we have voter registration by party, knocking on their doors actually gets approximately 7% of those people to show up at the next meeting. And that's a pretty good metric. I mean, you figure that we have 10,000 libertarians registered in this state right now, over 10,000.
Right.
That if we had 700 people, new people active, that would significantly increase our bandwidth and significantly decrease the amount of work that each and every person involved now has to do. It would also increase people for like you and for Brad, who commented earlier, candidates to help you guys out.
That was actually my secret plan this year is I was just going to walk the counties to the registered libertarians and basically say, wake up. That was it.
Well, my last stint is in 4th District chair last year. I didn't run for re-election. I got in there filling a vacancy. I've done that job 3 times now. The one thing we did prior to the 2019 election was we sent out postcards to all of the registered L's and our counties, except for one. And that's because our postcards were mailed so late, and it was the one that they all arrived the day after the election. So sad. But all the other counties outperformed the average for our candidate as far as percentage of the vote. And I do believe that has everything to do with our postcard mailing campaign, because it's what was different, right? What else did we do? In 4th District, for those that don't know, goes from Louisville, snakes all the way up along the river to northern Kentucky, suburb of Cincinnati, and then snakes all the way back down to Ashland, which is a neighbor to Huntington, West Virginia. So it is a very long district.
Wow.
And so we cannot be in touch with all these people all the time. We're trying to build county parties. We have people over on the corners now, east and west, which is awesome. And they're great people, and I love working with those guys. The people out on the east side in Boyd County, we did a great number of events with them this past year, and I hope, minus COVID, we've been doing them again this year.
We had Frank Fitzpatrick on last night.
Yes, and Frank is awesome, and he's another one of those guys. He's a great guy, and he's running for Ashland City Commission. So those that may have missed that show, who live over in Boyd County and the surrounding areas, Frank could use your help. Give him some help.
Absolutely,
I'm sure he'd appreciate it. But the point being is that that one interaction, did seem to boost our engagement. Did seem to boost our vote totals.
Right.
And so I'd like to see more engagement. Again, I was hoping to do that door knocking this spring. That was the plan for the spring. Was I was going to take a crew out. We were going to go knock on some doors,
right,
and try to get into meetings. And so, as things are reopening now, I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get back to that plan. Maybe it becomes a late summer, early fall plan instead of a spring plan. But regardless, we need to engage our own people first and get them active. And then once we've got them, go find more. Because they're supposedly 20% of the voter base is libertarian. That's what studies say. So if that's the case, we need to find those 20%. Because right now we're not getting that 20%. So we need them. Absolutely.
So on the importance of infrastructure, because that I titled this the purpose of the Libertarian Party, and in my mind, your answer to that would be infrastructure. Can you give us some stories about what we have done?
Oh, certainly. So starting from literally nothing, right? We had nothing, and what we would get from the LP National.
But then we built on it.
Right. It caught fire, fell over, and sunk into the swamp. But the fourth one stayed. The point is that we started from basically nothing. We had a list of people who were dues-paying national members at some point, and we used that information to encourage people to come to the 2007 convention. That's where we met Harlan Compton. For those that have been around the party a bit, that's where Harlan came in. Never will forget Harlan walking into the room. He came in a nice suit. We're all sitting around with presidential candidates in jeans and T-shirts, drinking and smoking and having a good time. And Harlan poked his head in the door, and he's like, "Nah," and he walked out. And I'm like, "Hey, are you looking for libertarians?" He's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, you're here. Come on in. It's good." So, we do have a lot of fun. I mean, I believe there's a balance to everything, right? There's work and there's fun. You have to have a good balance because it can't be all work. But the point is that building the infrastructure out, the goal of this is to get resources for candidates. At the end of the day, it's about the campaigns. That's what a political party is. So things that we have done, we started doing monthly newsletter mailings was one of the early things that unfortunately we've kind of dropped off in the past few years, but that was one to keep people engaged. Really emphasizing having monthly meetings, trying to get people to come out and be active and involved and, build the what's going on. Oh, hey, you've got that going on. I'd like to help with that kind of thing. Try to get more of the community action going within the party. Mm-hmm. Since that time, we built our own mail server, which actually I'll get back to later. But that was Harlan and I started that. Yeah. We rebuilt the website. We did a lot of things to build our infrastructure there.
And they sank into the swamp.
Well, they didn't really sink into the swamp. What happened is they got those got superseded by bigger and better things, right? It was so we took what we did here in Kentucky, and then I went to national and kept screaming at them, "Hey, why do we have 50 states that have to build 50 websites and maintain 50 web servers and maintain 50 email servers? And this is insanity. This is 50 people that you're taking off the chessboard that are dedicated people that would do work, but you're taking them off." So the response I got back was, "Well, if you think it's such a good idea, run for the LNC." So I did. And I was the alternate from 2016 to the end of 2017. I did work on ballot access committee. I did work on things. And by the way, infrastructure-wise, one of the key pieces was something you built, Rob, was the voter validator, which then comes later into this. That's 2014 as voter validator. Yes, thank you. Because that made petition drives far easier to make sure that we were good. Right. People that have never done a petition drive understand that you have people that sign either. Most of the time, I think it's not meant as a saboteur action, but they sign with the wrong information. They sign with the birth date wrong.
Right.
Who doesn't know their birthday? That's one that always confused me, but whatever. The point is, having the correct information. A lot of times people move and they don't update their voter registration stuff. Well, it doesn't count if they haven't re-registered at that new address. It doesn't count.
Right.
And we don't know that without being able to validate it. So we have to be able to do that quickly. Our old system was very slow. Rob got to see how slow and painful it was and said, I'll be back in a few days as we're plugging away on this old system, and came back with a system that totally rocks. Right. So I get on the LNC in 16. Actually, no, before the LNC in 15, we used it in Oklahoma. We used it in Oklahoma first before I was on the LNC. And
I redubbed it Voter OK.
Yes. And I still work with some of those people that were involved in the drive itself. Yeah. So the Oklahoma party was basically dead. And because of that effort, putting that, like Gary Johnson be on the ballot in 16, they got ballot access. They've built the whole party. They've got an infrastructure building out there.
Right.
So, these are the things that just little pieces all build into bigger things. And that's the goal here, right? The little piece enables the bigger thing.
Well, I want to pause on Voter Validator just for a moment because, it was a personal experience with me. I mean, all it was is I showed up. I saw a gap. I mean, the previous tool, it was a good tool. It worked. Ken built it. Swiss Army knife.
Actually, I didn't even build the original. That was Eric Cranley. Eric Cranley built the original.
Yeah, Eric.
I bolted on a lot of junk to it, but he built the core of that. So,
but, my presentation to Ken is you're using a Swiss Army knife where you need a screwdriver and it'll work. Yeah. But here's a screwdriver.
Right.
But the thing was, I was just a person who stopped by and recognized that. Mm-hmm. And, I recognized that and I went, oh, I know how to do that better. And I went home and did it. And because I did that, we got parties and candidates on the ballot in 5 states. Is it 5?
Yeah, I think 5. I can't remember them all, honestly. The big ones I remember are Oklahoma and Ohio, because those were giant drives.
But I mean,
Ohio was monstrous.
If you're, I'm not saying that to brag on myself. I'm saying that because I want people to realize if there's something you can do, it can turn out to have a really big impact.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people got to feel better when they left the voting booth because I went, Swiss Army knife, I know how to build a screwdriver. That's it. I spent 20, 25 hours on it, maybe. It's not really that much of my life.
It was 3 days. I remember. Yeah. It was 3 days. You had your wife come in and be the guinea pig. I remember all of it. Yeah. Ginny Sevilla donated the space to us to work. So, yeah, I mean, that's another. All the little things, man. All the little things.
Yeah, none of that would have happened without Ginny. Thank you, Ginny.
No,
that wouldn't have happened without Ginny. So maybe
it wouldn't happen it wouldn't happen without Dave.
It wouldn't have happened without Dave.
It's all the little pieces that come together. That's the key. Right. It's all the little pieces. And it's not unlike a puzzle, right? Where the pieces, it's like, oh, look, here's the corner piece. Oh, here's the middle piece. And you put the pieces together, and then you get the full picture.
Find the niche you fit in, complete the puzzle.
Exactly. Decide if you're a water piece, a land piece, or a sky piece.
Or
a structure piece. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we're small enough that every piece is needed. Every single piece is needed somewhere. Right now, around the state and around the country, candidates are screaming for help.
Right.
And if you can give just a little tiny bit, whether that's designing a logo, helping them get a basic WordPress website set up, setting up every little things, phone banking for a few hours, knocking some doors in the neighborhood this fall, anything, just a couple of hours makes a huge impact. It really does.
Kyle O'Donnell has done maybe half dozen websites, maybe more. Kyle, are you out there? Can you tell us how many you've done? He's done
more than that. Yeah, he's done a lot.
And if you're looking for candidates here in Kentucky, you can go to perry4ky.com/candidates. And I've got a list of candidates there. that's another thing. It's just I wasn't quite happy with not having a single page with a list of candidates. I got it ready before state got theirs. I saw a gap. I just did something. So just do something.
Right. Well, and that's what then led to me going to national with all of this, right? Mm-hmm. Even before on the LNC, we brought voter validator for Oklahoma because that was 100-something thousand signature drive or something dumb like that. It was a ridiculously huge drive, ridiculous in size.
Right.
And, we needed a way to be able to validate that quick. And we did. And we succeeded. And now there's a party there where there was none. Like the simple act of you having voter validator, loading up the Oklahoma data, me coordinating it and doing, I think I validated personally like 20,000 signatures on that drive. I went a little crazy on that. But other people did too. And we basically were sure that we were good to go.
Right.
And that's what we needed. In my time on the LNC and now after the LNC, and I am running for LNC again because I'm a masochist apparently. But the point is that we've been able to build projects. So took the stuff from the mail server, right? What Harlan had built originally, and then we rebuilt, moved it from BSD over to Linux, which is geeky, and don't worry about it if you don't know what that means. We moved it to a different operating system, and then I took that example of how that can work and used a package that's easier. You always make it easier, better, cheaper. That's IT. And we were able to take what was existing mail server for LP National that was costing them $582 a month, I believe. That's the one where one of the guys at the office gets mad when I say it's $600. So it's $582. Definitely not $600 a month. And the point is that we were able to take that money. We took a couple of versions of LP.org that they had laying around too, one of which was $832 a month. And then the current version was at $1,200 a month on Amazon. We took all three of those. We put the website on a service provider that specializes in WordPress hosting, and that's $250 a month. And then we took and now we spend about $1,000 and change. We do the website. Oh, not the website. The website's over on that that provider. But we do email hosting for I think 12 states right now, including Kentucky. Right. We do the CRM for 22 states, which is something that's new that was add-on that we have 22 states in, and we're working to get more in. We've hit some hiccups on that because some of these big states are hard, man. Like California and Florida, that's a lot of people.
Right.
Just a lot of people. But we're working to get everybody in because at the end of the day, that's the little piece that I can do, right? The little piece that I can do is take the technology burden off the state. I can't be everywhere. I can't knock doors everywhere. I can't do all of those things. What I can do is for 50 states and all their county parties, help them get their data organized so that the people who do go out and knock doors can do it more efficiently so that their experience is better so that they'll go do it again. And then we can build the party. And
you say the state, but if you're a region chair,
mm-hmm.
or sorry, a district chair or a district at large like Rob, or
mm-hmm.
you're a county treasurer or whatever, you end up getting an email address that's hosted by the system can just talk about. So I know it sounds like he's talking about the national level and, 10 minutes ago, we were talking about local. Now we're talking about national. No, we're still talking about local.
Right. It's just that it's an economies of scale project. It literally is all about keeping it so that instead of having 50 people across the nation stuck in their basement all weekend fighting a mail server, that there's one guy stuck in his basement all weekend fighting a mail server, and the other 49 can be doing anything else. Right. Literally anything else. And that's important because we're all volunteers and it all takes time. And even those states that do have enough money that do hire executive directors, those guys have other jobs to do, like fundraising and outreach and all that other stuff, not the technical stuff. So if we can take that burden off, every state party has the same issues, right? I need to have a website. I need to be able to take donations. I need to have people able to sign up. I need to be able to find out who my supporters are, my members are, that kind of stuff. And ideally have that broken down by county or region, which we do have the regional ability, what we call districts in Kentucky, district parties. Other states do it a little differently, whatever. We generically call them region parties. and be able to just look at that data, and then not just look at it, but also refine that data, be able to work that data, find out that, oh, this person is real hot about the Second Amendment, or this person doesn't want to be contacted again. That's a big one, right? We're libertarians.
Right.
If you don't want to be contacted again, we don't want to bug you again.
Right.
And the problem is, in the past, we wouldn't track that. So every 6 months, some poor volunteer would fall into the trap of, I told you people never to call me again. Well, I didn't know, man.
Right.
Because we never tracked it. So it's all very important stuff that at a national level we can provide for a very low cost, right? Andy Burns is the affiliate support specialist at National. He was already there and already working when we started these projects. So some people add his salary into the cost of the project. I personally don't, because he was already there. But we took essentially what was, what is that, $2,500-ish a month, and cranked it down to about $1,250 a month. And we've vastly expanded services as well, which then turns into, helping all these states grow. And the only thing I wish we could get more states on the system faster. It's difficult. It's one of those things that as we add more, we need more resources to keep the momentum going. And so things have slowed down as we've added more. I'm hopeful that long term, I'm going to be able to back out of some of the things that I've committed myself to. And Rob, you know me, I'm always singing that song.
Right.
I'm always singing that song.
Ken is the most famous overcommitter. No.
I try not to, and somehow I end up embroiled. This whole national convention thing was supposed to be an easy, fun thing. Yeah, anybody watching the national scene right now knows that not so easy, not so fun.
I've literally failed to talk Ken out of taking on new things. Like, he's like, I'm going to do that. Ken, don't do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Don't do it. Well, this won't take that much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's what it is. I'm currently, by the way, in the process of finally getting back to getting all of Kentucky's voter data and everything merged back together for the CRM. For those in Kentucky that are waiting on that, it's almost actually done. I was writing the code all weekend and through the week and trying to get that all merged back together.
Don't forget Joe Hunter on that.
I keep trying to get. I need to talk to Joe again. Yeah.
Joe's got some skills. I've got some skills, but I'm shy of time right now. Hey, Clint is pointing out that Jorgensen, a different Joe, is being blacked out by the national media platform. And I think he said that in response to Lex saying, if you want to see you can go there. But
nice.
I'll tell you. What about fighting the blackouts?
That goes right back to grassroots activism, man. I mean, what it comes down to is that as long as we're small, as long as nobody raises a ruckus, as long as it's like 10 people angry, nobody cares, right? And it's a disservice. Look, it's a disservice to the public when the media does this, right? Mm-hmm. When the media willfully ignores, not because of, this candidate isn't running a real campaign and hasn't reached out, but when they willfully ignore a campaign, when there are 3 candidates on the ballot, all they ever talk about is 2,
right?
That harms the voters. It
Absolutely.
Really does, because it harms their ability to gather information to make an informed choice on election day. And that's what infuriates me about it. At the other side of it is, we do need to do a better job of building our base. And it becomes harder and harder for them to ignore us when instead of 10 people showing up mad, 10,000 people show up mad. Right. And it is a reality is that the more people that show up, the more they care, right? Let's look at the current protests, right? If there were 10 people showing up at these protests, no one would care.
Right.
My wife showed me video of the march in Miami. They had, I guess, a drone flying over. That was a huge sea of people. Like, wow. I saw that. I was like, that's insane. That is a lot of people. And that's hard to ignore, right? You can't ignore people in large numbers. And so the larger our numbers are, the harder it becomes to ignore. And that goes all back to, we need to grow our grassroots and have those people and know who's willing to come out. Hey, will you be willing to go to a TV station and protest outside that they're being jerk faces? Right. Yes or no, right? That's an important thing. So I'm trying to read here. Yeah, I see Clint's question. I've got it too small, so it's hard for me to read.
Yeah, I've got it. So here's what I do, folks, is I have this on the screen and then I pull it down and I make it smaller, because if I don't, I'm looking like this the whole time instead of anywhere near the camera. Right. But yeah, so he's asking, is Michael Adams, Secretary of State, being helpful?
Not usually. I mean, look, the first of all, you got Democrats and Republicans in elected positions, right? They have no interest in seeing a challenger succeed, because there's power in being number two as well. So they don't even want to. They're happy being number one or number two.
He has been friendly with us, though. He hasn't, to my knowledge, been confrontational with us or anything like that. They've been. I mean, no problems filing anything like that.
Yeah, and I don't think, I think the key there is that he has a job to do. He knows we'll sue them if they don't do that job. We have a proven track record of filing lawsuits when bureaucrats don't do their job. Right. But at the same time, the bureaucracy can't really be helpful, right? It depends on how you define helpful. Like, if I ask them a question, do they give me an answer? If that's helpful, then yes, that's good. They do that. Good. But if it helpful means helping walk us through the process, no. And I wouldn't expect them to do that. I would not want them to do that for anybody, because that's when you start getting into weird favoritism problems. I do
have an anecdotal story on that relates back to, Ken was talking about the media blackouts not serving the voters well. Well, this is kind of similar with Secretary of State. I'm not even going to talk about the business, the type of business they were in, but a friend of mine is involved with this business that I had never even thought of it, but it turns out they offer services to candidates, and I just hadn't put the two together. And this friend was talking to me and said, "Hey, we just got a list of all the candidates because we're going to send them basically junk mail, but they were going to send out junk mail to try to get business from the candidates. And they noticed I wasn't on the list, And then we got to talking, and of course, none of the libertarians were on the list. So, so even the businesses, and it's not that I particularly wanted that junk mail anyway, but one of our candidates may have, and even that business that is legitimately trying to reach out to us, or even a reporter might get the same list. People who might genuinely be interested. Yeah, the existing practices of the Secretary of State, not to say Michael Adams did it on purpose, but the existing practices of the Secretary of State right off sort of firewall us off a little bit.
Sure. Well, and that's by design, right? I mean, that's the whole reason why we don't get a state-run primary. Right. The state-run primary is literally advertising for those parties with taxpayer dollars. Right. And so their candidates show up on a website. They're all there. They're all getting free publicity through now the middle of June. And, we're not going to get that. And we're not going to see our names on that website until probably late June. It'll probably be, because they have to go through the certification process and all that stuff. So it's going to be late June, maybe early July, before any of our candidates get listed. And personally, I understand, the logic behind that, as far as saying, well, this is only the primary candidates listed right now. But, it's a weird thing. You don't legally have to use the primary. The D's and the R's don't have to. They'd be dumb not to, because it's free advertisement, but they legally don't have to. Right. And that's an established court case from 1978. They do not have to use that system. That's Supreme Court. And so
do we have any more questions for Ken?
I saw Lex had something up there, but I didn't see what it was.
Oh, he was basically writing the text version.
Oh, June 23rd. Wow, it's June 23rd even. I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be into July. And then you got 4th of July right there. So who knows when they're going to get that list of candidates up? I mean, because it takes, I think it's 1 week to certify. I think it's 1 week after the election. So you're talking June 30th is the certification date. Right. And then you're into 4th of July weekend. So who knows?
That's okay. I don't need them, not with all the people out there that are liking, commenting, and sharing.
Just keep plugging that. By the way, if you haven't heard, it would be a good idea to like, comment, or share this show.
What a fabulous idea, Ken.
Or a combination therein. Perhaps all three.
It's a puzzle piece. You can fill it.
It is literally a 3-piece puzzle that is super easy to fill.
There you go. There you go.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying I don't see any more questions. Did you have anything else, Ken? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just going to ask how you're doing because it's your show and you're interviewing me, I guess. But it's also conversational. I'm be like, how's your campaign going?
I don't know, really. I mean, that's kind of a funny thing. I've some of the training courses they talk about touch points, and they talk about getting about a vote per touch point. I don't know how somebody seeing a post counts. Is that a 1/10 of a touch point? I mean, I figure it's not 0, but it's probably not 1. I don't know what it is.
I will tell you, my experience says is that your best bet is 3 touches minimum. Okay. And 3 touches through different mediums. So
right.
In the past, it's been radio, TV, newspaper were your 3 mediums that you tried to touch. I would suspect that social media and or YouTube or whatever would replace television, commercial television.
Sure.
Or perhaps replace newspaper, because newspapers are all dying.
Right.
But radio ads are still relatively cheap. And something I recommend personally is if you've got some cash to throw at it, that's not a bad place to throw the money. And that's a good opportunity to throw up that link there. I see. Hey.
There you go. So yeah, absolutely. If you're one of those libertarians that aren't active who just throw cash at it, feel free. I would love to hit 50,000 to get to be part of the KET debate.
That is something we should talk about too, about inclusion criteria and junk like that, and how insane that is.
Right.
It's just wrong. These stations that are out there, they try to put up an air of legitimacy by saying, well, we have criteria that say whether or not a candidate's involved. I mean, granted, there's 2 people that are likely to qualify, and every blue moon, a third one actually is in the race, and even more rare than that would qualify for the debate. But, we don't want the stage to be too crowded.
Right.
It's like, really? Well, 3 people's I guess that is the whole thing about 2's a couple, 3's a crowd, but I don't really think that really is the thing with a debate. 3-person debates are actually the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I say that as a person who's a debate coach and all those other things. I'm big into debate. So,
Right. Well, seriously though, I'm always pointing people to the other candidates. Do go to the other candidates. If there's just something extra special about Rob you can't stand and don't want to give Rob money or time, that's fine. You can go to another candidate. That's fine. But normally I would throw money at myself, but I took the year off to do this.
Right.
So I have actually no income right now.
Right.
So I can't do this and throw money at it, guys. So if you'll throw money at me so I can throw it back at this, that would be good, actually. Not to whine too much. I'm okay. I'm not going to starve before the end of the year. It's nothing like that.
Right. But it is a valid point that, and we'll just call it out right here. KET has set up a threshold that U.S. House representative candidates have to raise $50,000. And I believe that has to be from someone other than yourself anyway, Rob. I'm pretty sure they closed that loophole. And Brad Barron, running for U.S. Senate, has to raise $100K. I'm pretty sure they closed that loophole, because otherwise you just take a mortgage out on your house, put it in there, go, yay, and then pay yourself back, and it's done.
That's the thing. You have to actually spend it.
Oh.
You have to raise it from other people, or spend. I forget the exact wording, but my interpretation of it is I can donate it. So I can donate $50,000 and spend it. But I'm already taking off this year, guys, so I'm not going to do that. Now, honestly, if you don't want to see me on stage enough to chip a little in, then I'm just paying to get to be on stage, and Nah, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's only worthwhile if you want me there, honestly.
Right.
It does nothing for my ego.
But it is ridiculous, though, that there's going to be a Democrat and a Republican in your race and a Libertarian, and that's who's in your race. And KET is going to show 2 of those 3 people.
Right.
How is that educating the public? Dead serious. How's that educating people?
It's less confusing. It's less confusing for the public, though, Ken, because those 2 agree on almost everything, really.
I mean, and that's the thing, right?
Right.
The whole idea behind educational television is that you should learn something. And I will tell you, I have watched debates with 2 party candidates. I told you, I watched that 10 years of history on debates, and I've obviously watched many others.
Right.
I as noted, I love debate. I was a debate coach. I was in debate in high school. I love debate. I think it's important to have discourse and talk out issues.
Right.
When you have a debate between a Democrat and Republican, it turns into a lesser of 2 evils thing. Well, literally in 2006 was the best example ever. There were 3 debates total. We were only included in one of them. And actually, entertainingly at that time, the KET debate. So the 2 debates that we were excluded from, the Democrat and Republican literally spent the entire time talking about who was more corrupt, who was taking what money, who was a bigger dirtbag. I mean, it was literally, that's all it was. It was a back and forth on who's a bigger dirtbag. Right. We get to KET and we have to talk issues because there's this other guy here, right?
Right.
I can't see my thumb pointing there. This other guy over here, and you can't. Hey, that's even perfect. I'm even pointing at you. Look at that. There's this guy over here, and you can't just be running a negative campaign when there's 3 people in there. You actually have to talk about issues. You have to talk about solutions. And as I noted, the answer about the Iraq War that we prepared for that debate, the day after the election, the Republican incumbent who did win his seat back, even though Democrats got wiped out all over the country in 2006, he was on conservatarian radio for the very next morning, and he literally quoted the talking point that we had on the Iraq War. And so the point being that we did make a difference, if nothing else, in that we changed someone's mind, someone influential's mind, on getting the heck out of Iraq. Like, here's how we do it. We need to do X, Y, Z, and get out. And it was like, hey, and it was funny. It even threw the questioners off. They were like, oh, let's do a follow-up on that. And went another round. And I mean, you can really have a positive effect when you have a third outside voice presenting real outside answers to problems, right? Real answers that are like, oh, that's not being talked about, but that's actually a good idea. Right.
And John Mons talked about doing that in his governor's race in Georgia.
Yeah.
That was a really big deal. And I would love to talk about the fact the FDA needs either seriously neutered or really they need competition. I mean, you can't govern this thing because the needs are too dynamic for a deliberative body to be changing the rules. You need competition in the FDA space.
I was going to say, in my opinion, Rob, you know me, I'm fairly pragmatic in my approaches, but after the massive dropping of the ball, not just dropping of the ball, but actually actively blocking solutions in January and February of this year, I'm on the abolish the FDA train. In the vacuum, private stuff will pop up because there's still a need. There is.
Absolutely.
I just went out. I spent ridiculous sums of money on a mower and a refrigerator this past week because I had to, because I didn't want to spend that money, but I had to.
Right.
I subscribe to Consumer Reports.
Right.
And I go out and look at Consumer Reports for reviews. I look at the overall, not just individual models, but also the overall by brand. And I'll tell you, I'll cheat right now, and I'll tell you, Consumer Reports basically says, hey, LG is the best brand out there right now.
Right.
So I bought an LG refrigerator. It wasn't
go.
exactly the same model that they had because their stuff was a little bit behind. I bought a brand new model. But that's a decision point, right? And they have all the things. Noise, efficiency. I mean, they go through all the things, right?
right.
that matter to buying a refrigerator.
So
and they do that for plenty of other things. So if we didn't have an FDA, and another example, by the way, is Underwriters Laboratories, who literally, their mark literally means this product won't burn your house down. That's all our mark means. It means this product won't burn your house down. And so I think that a private version of the FDA, and maybe competitive, probably competitive, at least initially.
Right.
Well, at least initially, would be something that says, hey, this product actually works. Hey, this product doesn't kill most people.
Right.
Hey, those kinds of things, important things, all the things that the FDA does, but at a speed that is much faster than the FDA, right? Because they're talking about the coronavirus stuff. They're like, oh, well, after FDA approves, it's going to be 18 months. And I'm thinking to myself, we can't stay in lockdown for 18 months. We're all going to starve.
Right.
Like, somebody has to make the food or we're all going to die.
And tying that back to what we're doing here is the D's and the R's aren't really going to have that conversation. Not on their own.
No.
If you want to hear that conversation, you've got to get people like me in there. And I'm not just saying me. There's also all my brothers and sisters out there. You got to get people like us out there. We will talk about it because we are not beholden to them. We want something that works. We want to restore power to the people. And even if we don't win, just if we can just force the issue, like Lex was pointing out that John Hicks covered the spread between the governor's race. If we're covering the spread or getting close to covering the spread, and we're talking about other issues that they're not talking about, all of a sudden they go, oh crap, we got to pick a side on this issue. Yeah.
Oh, and make no mistake. Right now, we talked about the riots earlier, right? And the whole thing about all of that. Justin Amash, who flipped to Libertarian, right, in Congress. Great guy, very much. I've been following Amash since 2010. So, I mean, I've been following him a long time. He has introduced a bill to eliminate qualified immunity, which, people my age, your age, Rob, we don't remember a time before qualified immunity, but it's only been around since 1967.
Right.
And prior to that, the Supreme Court ruling actually was kind of the opposite, that no, public servants do not enjoy special immunity. Right. And so by removing qualified immunity, right, he is the sponsor. He's brought it on. Now, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people I saw today, I think it was today, jumped on and co-sponsored, which is great. Awesome. But it took a libertarian to change the conversation to let's strike at the root of the problem, which is that, you and I are both friends with David Patterson. We've talked about this. There are bad police officers out there. There are bad ones out there. Sometimes it's because of their training. Sometimes it's just because there's bad people, and there's bad people in every profession. But you can't have a special class that protects people when they act badly. Right. And so that's the issue. Let's strike at the root. Take away the legal protections. And there's tons of examples of where legal protections have caused bad outcomes. BP oil spill. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on about where when legal protections are put in place to protect people from liability, bad things happen. Right. And
I loved I mean, it's a perfect example of what I hate. One of the Republicans after the BP oil spill was like, well, we got to have this cap on there, because if that cap wasn't on there, it wouldn't be affordable to drill in the Gulf. And I'm thinking,
then don't do it.
Right. I don't know that what he said is true, but if it's true, then it's cost prohibitive to drill in the Gulf. That's your answer.
Right. Look, that's a bean counter decision. Somewhere in a back room did a risk reward calculation and figured out that, hey, our risk is capped here, right? And our potential reward is up here. Right. So let's go for it. But the real risk would be way up here, and no one in their right mind would ever go for a reward here when the risk is here. And that's what that artificial cap does. Likewise, right, when people, and this is just human nature, right? It's all risk reward. We're always doing risk reward calculations, even when we don't think about it. And so if you take away the risk, then people will make bad decisions because the risk is gone and they're just looking at the reward at that point. So
well, speaking of risk, we're 50 minutes in, so I don't know if I should bring this up, but
go for it.
That's what we just did to the entire freaking stock market. I mean,
in which way?
Well, the Federal Reserve pumped money into the market, and they drove people out of treasuries just because they bought the living heck out of it. They dropped the interest to zero, and now they're buying your safer bonds, and it's not even like the AAA, AA. They're now buying what they call fallen angels. They're basically buying junk bonds that were double or AAA rated before the recent downturn. So
they obviously haven't seen the movie The Big Short, but that's cool. No, I mean
it's cool for people like me who have some money in the stock market.
Right. But the problem is
that's the thing. That's a risk I should have absorbed.
It's not just that, though. There's always a price to pay. You and I have talked about this, Rob, about the concept of technical debt. And it's not indifferent. And for folks that don't know, you take a shortcut now and you pay for it in spades later. And you know that you're taking a shortcut now.
Right.
And you're going to pay for it later. And make no mistake, they fired up those printing presses and they went nuts and created a ton of money out of thin air, bought up all this stuff with money that didn't previously exist, and it will inevitably have to cause inflation. Because since our currency is not backed in jack squat other than the full faith and credit of the United States government, which, that has great value to me. Other than that,
and just for you to know, I just shared with the world.
Yay! I love that. That's the best site. So that site right there. Watch that later. Make sure you're using something that allows JavaScript and have fun with the slider. That site entertains me to no end. But
cool.
Only because you have to laugh or else you cry. The reality is we're going to pay for that, man. Right. We're going to pay for that one way or another. And look, the Fed at some point is going to try to pull that money back off the table. They're going to try. It's going to cause the market to dip. There'll be political pressure to keep that money in. And it's going to keep causing the value of every dollar that we have to go down because it has to.
Well, those who might, I can't remember, it's like 2011 or 2013, but somewhere in that time range, you may know the term taper tantrum. Basically, the Fed said, "Hey guys, it's about time we look at," and the stock market went, and they said, no, we'll leave it. we'll leave it. We'll take it back later, maybe.
And we're not going to tell you about it next time. But yeah, I mean,
we had started to make some progress between 2016 and 2019, and then December of 2019 and March of 2020, we completely undid the progress. We're right back. We were right back where we were, and now it's become so much worse. And this time it's even worse because last time they weren't really forcing people to borrow. Once you start leveraging the money, that's when the real inflation happens. That's why you watch the M2 money supply. I don't know if you've looked, Ken, this is like the first time in history that the M2 money supplies had a substantial jump. I mean, like 2008, you had a little wiggle. This time, you're up on this parabola anyway, and then it goes spike. It just turns parabolic at the beginning of this. It's like, I'll God. Tell you,
I stopped watching the M numbers back in 2006. I still remember when it was. It was just before my birthday in March of 2006 when the Fed came out, or the Treasury came out and announced that we're not going to report M6 anymore. That's not important. That's not important anymore. Now, for those that don't know what M6 is, M6 was literally all the money, like all the fake money, the ones and zero money, fake money, not printed money, right? It was everything, all the debts, all the everything. Like if you took and added up all the money in the world that are in US dollars, this is what M6 is. Like owed, supposed to be printed, everything. And they're like, maybe you don't need to know that anymore.
I have an idea. Hey, if you want to see me and Ken talk about the money supply and how this all works, comment. Tell you what, I'm not even going to make you do that much work. just find the burr.money and love it. If you love Burr money, Ken and I will be
In the
back.
thread. Nice.
To
Yeah,
talk about
Burr.money.
money.
God, that was so much fun.
Money. Just love that, and that'll be the sign that we need to come back and talk about money.
But this is just one of the issues where libertarians lead, right? D's and R's aren't talking about this stuff. They're not going to talk about this stuff. And these are important conversations because these are going to have ramifications a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. We're going to feel the repercussions of all that money printing. And they're going to blame it on this. They're going to blame it on that. But at its core, it's going to be, we damn near doubled the money supply. And you know, that's going to cut the value of every dollar in half, because the real cost of money, the real value of money is our economy divided by the number. Wait, did I do it wrong? Number of dollars in circulation divided by the value of our economy. That's the value of a dollar. And so when you create more dollars, I had it right the first time. It doesn't matter. The point is, when you create more dollars, the individual value of each dollar is less. And so that's hurting everybody. And it doesn't matter that the stock market's going up. It's whatever. So that's why we need to talk about that. Yeah,
I got to talk to Clint sometime, because you know, Clint and I have kind of worked together loosely on some things, and I've never even met the guy. But
he lives in the Louisville area. Good dude.
I've
talked plenty of times. Yeah. So he wants us to go back to how to build LPKY above 50,000 vote wise. Perfect. That actually is a very good segue, because this is part of it, right? Is we have to be talking about issues that matter. We have to talk about them in ways that the D's and R's won't do it. They have to be legitimate, right? You can't just be pulling crazy town stuff out of the air. It's like, what's the value of a dollar? Tell me, right? And then once you establish that, you can talk about how every time they print another one, every other dollar goes down in value. And then you start talking about how we can solve that problem. How do we get out of this mess? Those are the talking points. The other part is, now that's part, right, is having the good message. You got to get it out there. And that's where the party building comes in, to tie this all back to where we began. You got to have boots on the ground to tell the story. And different people out there are better or not so good at telling that part. You know, there's different roles for everybody in the party. We talked about that. But part of this is going out and knocking on libertarian doors, getting them excited. Getting them excited to tell their neighbors about what's going on. Hey, check out this person. You know, obviously libertarians this time around, we're going to have a lot more trouble with Jo Jorgensen, because she's not a former 2-term governor running with a former 2-term governor. Right. We're going to have more difficulty. So we need every libertarian out there to knock on other libertarians' doors to say, we got to get the word out. We have a great candidate, a great vice presidential candidate. They're a great team. They're legit. They would be infinitely better than Trump or Biden. Infinitely better. It doesn't matter. Honestly, I mean, seriously, at this point, I half wonder if anyone who breathes, we have a 50-50 shot at being better than either of them. But the point is that we do have legitimate candidates with legitimate backgrounds that are really good. And we need to reach libertarians in Kentucky. So speaking to Kentucky specifically, we need to reach libertarians in Kentucky. We need to make sure they're aware that, remember, this is an electoral college race, right? Right. Electoral college. The vote only counts in Kentucky. So when we're voting for president, it's only for the votes in Kentucky. Then once we get that through, they need to be able to parrot that same thing to their friends and family, because there's a lot of people out there, who are like, I don't really like Trump, but I can't vote for a Democrat. Or I don't really like Joe Biden, but I got to stop Trump. I get the mindset, but it's Kentucky. Like, Trump's going to win this state 68-32 or whatever. It was 68-28 last time. And he's probably going to do it again. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do on an individual basis in Kentucky, unless somehow every single vote came off of Trump, every single one. Right. And they all went to our candidate. And oh, by the way, by the time it matters, that means our candidate, the libertarian candidate, Jo Jorgensen, would actually win the state of Kentucky. Jo Jorgensen would win the state of Kentucky before Joe Biden will. And that's the truth of the math of this presidential election. So with that in mind, vote however you want. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change the outcome significantly unless something crazy happens and Joe wins Kentucky. But that would be a huge event unto itself. That's awesome. So just vote how you want to. Don't be afraid. I first voted Libertarian in 2000 for president. I have never looked back. I have never regretted it. It's Kentucky.
Yep.
It has never changed. It never changed anything. But I will say there is something to be said that I never had to apologize for voting for a candidate that won for president since that time.
I have never in my life regretted a vote for a Libertarian. Every time I vote Libertarian, I just end up being happier about it afterward. It's like, I feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, now I feel really good. Oh, I mean, we had crap, that's like the smartest thing I ever did.
Well, we had the whole thing with Hicks and people complaining about Hicks supposedly splitting the vote. And I'll tell you the analysis I've done, I don't think it changed the outcome of that race. I think it was a 50-50 split. I think that went back based on what I'm looking at and what I've modeled. Right. I don't think it threw the election. It certainly, raised eyebrows, plenty of people pointing fingers. But the reality is, I don't regret that vote. I voted for John. I don't regret that vote. I've had ballots before where, and I've only done this like once or twice, but I've had ballots before where there was literally no one I felt I could vote for. And it's not that I didn't do the homework. I did the homework. I showed up. There's literally I went, even though there was no one I could vote for, because I deliberately cast a blank ballot. Now, that's never reported on the media. Right. And, but somebody, I think it was Lex, was recently telling me, I've actually had several people tell me this, but I'm going to attribute it to Lex anyway. Yay, Lex. Politicians count the votes they get, and they count the votes their opponent gets. If you don't vote, if you leave the ballot blank, if you don't express yourself, they don't count that. So if everybody votes for evil A or evil B, whichever evil wins, they have a mandate because they're looking at all the votes they won, and they say, look at all the people who voted for me. Right. You need to put your vote somewhere that matters. If you don't want it to be A and you don't want it to be B, you need to put it someplace that they'll look at. Just so they go, why did this person get so many votes? Just to make them stop and think. So we just went through the whole "it doesn't matter, so vote how you want" thing, right? I just went through that. The one thing to add on to that, though, is the historical role of all non-major parties. The historical role going back many, many years at a federal level, right? If you hit 5% regularly in federal elections, the major parties will absorb or try to absorb part of your platform. Like that is an actual thing that has happened over and over and over through our history, and really only slowed down after these ballot access laws came into place in the early 1900s that prevented more non-Democrat, non-Republicans from winning. People don't even realize we've sent 12 different parties to Congress from Kentucky. It was not a two-party system. They made it that way in the early 1900s. But the point is that if we can get to 5%, that actually has the most impact. So if you go out and you search Jo Jorgensen, who, by the way, is JOJ2020.com. We'll plug that there. Go out there. If you like what Jo Jorgensen has to say, if you like what she's got for you, vote for her. It won't change. It won't swing the votes in the Trump versus Biden race. That's not going to swing that, like I said, unless it gets crazy and we actually win a state. But what it can do, if we hit 5%, right, we can actually affect public policy. Like the D's and the R's will start taking pieces of that platform and taking it for their own. Heck, we saw this in Ohio in 2018. I ran the gubernatorial campaign in 18, and I was helping the other people on the slate. Gubernatorial, being the top race, most contentious, we did not do as well as we'd hoped. But down ticket, it's not even down ticket, really. It's all the other constitutional offices. They did better. And we got plenty of emails from people going, "Oh, I wanted to vote for you, but I voted for the rest of everybody. Thanks." I'm like, why'd you send this to me? I just want to punch you now. Why did you do that? But the point is that the Secretary of State candidate, Dustin Nana, had a platform, 3 planks. And by the end of the race, the Democrat took 2 and the Republican took 1, or vice versa. And the Republican who won has actually begun to adopt all of them and working to adopt all of them. He didn't win, but he changed public policy by running. And that's
on how you count a win.
Right. Well, in my book, winning is, getting what you want without actually having to be sentenced to 4 years of doing it. So, that's a win. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, Dustin did a great job. He had a good campaign platform. He had worked off of other previous campaign platforms that previous Ohio Secretary of State candidates had used, and was able to get the major parties to adopt it. And so there is an incentive, actually. It's not just the do whatever you want, but there's actually an incentive for positive change. And for that matter, it is very likely that the Greens will be on the ballot in Kentucky as well. Probably. They have been in the past. If you're more of a left-leaning voter, if you're a left person, check out whoever the Green Party nominates, which I think is happening over July 4th weekend. I don't remember, though. If that's where you're more fine-tuned, look, the higher percentage they get, the more that the major parties are going to be like, oh, look, there's a block of voters out here. And the best example of that is Ross Perot, who is blamed for causing Bush 41 to lose. It's not true. It doesn't matter. The point is that by running not once but twice on NAFTA reform and balancing the budget, and I always forget what his third plank was, but I know that they did NAFTA reform in 98 and they balanced the budget in 99. He never won. He got 19% and then 13% respectively.
Right.
And he never won, but he got the two of his three major planks adopted. So there is incentive. If you're a voter who's just like, oh, these Democrats and Republicans are so terrible, but I feel like I have to vote for this one to stop this one. Don't.
I need the lesser evil.
Don't. Because it doesn't ever work. Have you noticed that things never get better? Because I've noticed that things aren't getting better doing that. So let's step outside. Let's start pushing for some real policy change by voting for third parties, independent candidates, whatever they are. That's the way. And what we need is each and every one of you watching this broadcast to help push that message. We need everybody who is willing to step outside the DNR paradigm to step up and get other people to do the same. If nothing else, get them to consider doing it. Because, over time, I've convinced various family members and friends to join this crazy movement that we have known as the Libertarian Party. And we have grown our numbers, and we bring in new people, and we bring in, the fringe supporters, the ones that aren't necessarily dues paying members of the party or whatever, but they're out there and they support us. And we need to keep finding those people. And we need to because at the end of the day, those are the ones that vote for us at the ballot box. So that's my goal, is to, and kind of wrap all the way back around. My goal is to find the people at the local levels, help the local people, find the local people at the local levels, get them engaged, at least to the point of voting for our candidates, so that we can actually affect public policy and increase individual human liberty in our lifetimes.
Well, this is disastrous, but Clint has something I shouldn't show, but I have to show it because I have to talk about it. Is Go Forth financial supporters wanted to put up $200K plus if Hicks came out as 100% pro-life, and he turned it down. So I want to give my take on that, just because I'm a candidate right now.
Yeah.
I would turn it down. I'm proud of John for turning it down. I'm proud of any candidate who turns down money when it's conditioned on them becoming something they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean,
that's what I like about this party. And there's some of us that go each way, Clint. I mean, if Hicks had have been 100% pro-life, I would be like, yeah, take the money. But he wasn't. And I'm really proud of the fact that we have candidates that will go, no, that's not who I am.
Yeah. Well, in Kentucky, it's tough, especially for those that aren't. I've been involved, obviously, actively for 14 years, and I've noticed a pattern within the Libertarian Party generally of Kentucky, that if you come from Louisville and to a lesser extent Lexington, you're more likely to be pro-choice. If you come from other parts of the state, you're more likely to be pro-life. And that, oftentimes is because people, especially libertarians, right, have really thought through the issue, and they've tried to rectify their beliefs at some point around the issue. It's not just like I'm pro-choice because it feels good, or I'm pro-life because it feels good. It's, they've really thought about it. And a lot of how you come down on abortion specifically is about how you were raised. It is about your social surroundings. It's stuff that's more deeply ingrained than what you know, you're not going to change. Literally, you're not going to change anybody's mind on it after they hit their 20s or so. They're pretty much set, because you know it's a fundamental question of a clash of liberties, depending on where you stand on it. It kind of where you end up. So I know where I stand on it. I don't talk about it because it's divisive. I don't like to talk about abortion because it's an extremely divisive issue, especially within our party, because we do have people on both sides of the fence in our party. I've never used that as a litmus test.
It's a bad one for this party.
Well, and more importantly, though, you know, we're getting back to the whole we have to grow the party. You know, abortion is one of those weird issues where philosophically it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and you end up at the core of the question is, who are we and why are we here? And that's a question you can't even answer. And in that, at the very core is what the abortion debate is really about: is what is life and why are we here? You know, I can't fault people for having a different answer to that question than I do, because my answer, I feel I have the right answer, but there's not a lot of facts on why am I here. Like, you know, it's built on belief, and so
that's probably the best way to define my stance on abortion. If you believe you definitively know the right answer, you're who I disagree with. I mean, and the one thing that libertarians do agree on generally, and I think this is the main focal point, right, is because the issue of abortion is extremely divisive. There are ways to decrease unwanted pregnancies. That's the key, right? Right. Is to not focus on the issue of abortion. I think it's Ben Franklin that's attributed to the quote, "A stitch in time saves 9." And if we can avoid the unwanted pregnancies to begin with, we will see a significant reduction in the number of elective abortions. And I think that that's something that everybody can generally agree to, is that, I mean, even those that are pro-choice, I have never found anybody on the pro-choice side to be like, yay, abortion, let's do this. That'll be great. Yeah. You know, that's not something that I've really seen. So, yeah, but that's kind of that. We're going to have to commit right now to either call it a night or just play on through to like Monday. And
well, unfortunately, I have a ton of stuff to do. I do always like talking to you, Rob, and obviously like talking about the LP. But, you know, between planning the national convention, trying to keep the IT stuff and helping Andy Burns at National keep the CRM going and all the crazy stuff going on, man, you know, there are days when I wish I was just doing Kentucky stuff. I'll tell you that. Yeah. But, you know, the main thing is that what I'm doing at National is helping Kentucky and helping other states. And that's my goal. And that's why I keep doing it, is because I know that at least in Kentucky, and I know other states are being helped, but I know my state's being helped by what I'm doing up there.
Right.
And that's why I keep doing it. Because otherwise, boy, there are many days where it's so not worth it, or it feels like it's so not worth it.
Well, so this is normally the part of the show where I ask the guest candidate how people can help, but in this case, it's find your niche, put in the puzzle piece, be the puzzle piece, share, like, comment, find a candidate and help. Go ahead.
Get in touch with the people that are in your party. You know, here in Kentucky, Christy Kendrick is a great person to connect with. She can connect you with whoever, whatever you're interested in. She knows who's doing that. She can connect you. We have the list of candidates. Rob, you have it on your site. And then we also have on lpky.org, it's there. If you're watching from another state, right, contact your state chair, contact your state political director, if you can't get a hold of them, contact National and say, hey, what's going on? I'm trying to find somebody. I want to do something.
Right.
No, somebody out there is not going to turn down your free labor. Somebody out there is going to be like, hey, a volunteer. Awesome. And so even if for whatever reason your local party, your state party isn't responsive, certainly there are plenty of people who work across state lines. I talk to plenty of those people all the time, and there are people at National who can use your help. And we do need to focus on, in my opinion, growing county parties throughout all 3,100 and change counties that there are now. Which, by the way, is crazy because in the 90s there were only 3,056, but somehow we ended up with 100 more counties in the last 20 years. But the point is there's 3,100 and change counties in the U.S., And the bulk of them need someone to take the reins, to step up, to say, I'm going to organize this party because I want to help increase individual human liberty in my lifetime. And I'm going to go find 3 or 4 other people in my county, and we're going to start a county party, and then we're going to start doing outreach, and we're going to find more people, we're going to find more people, and we're going to find more people until we have 3,100 and whatever counties there are in the United States with county parties that are all functional, and we're getting people elected, not just to county offices, but to state legislatures, because then we have the boots on the ground to support that. And then those people graduate to go to U.S. Congress, where we start repealing all the stupid laws and only keep the ones that protect our rights in place. That's the long-term plan in my book. And that's what, I hope other people can see that vision. It is not an overnight solution. I know people love instant gratification. I've been at this for 14 years. We got a long way to go. It's going to take a lot longer than 14 years. Just know that. Buckle up, strap in. It's going to be a ride, but it's for a good reason, right? It's for all individual humans. It's for my children, my yet to be born grandchildren. It's for all those people, and
right.
That's why we do this, because we care about other people and we want them to be free to make their own choices in their lives that are best for them. So
also go check out my list of candidates, or you can go to LPKY and see them. Check out my
right there.
It's more confusing than you think. It's not a mirror, people. So
it's not a mirror.
I'm gonna play. What? You can of course donate to me. I do kind of do Facebook ads around some of these to draw attention to my campaign. You can help pay for that. Lex is very excited about getting some things in print. Send me some money. We'll spend it on that. And there is that $50,000 goal. If you want to see me up on stage, that would be fun and exciting. So let's do that. Monday, I have Amanda Billings back on.
Nice.
I had a great show last time with Amanda. A lot of people really enjoyed that. A lot of people were excited about it. I think this coming Monday is going to be even more exciting. We're going to be talking about marijuana. And Amanda is running in a race where talking about marijuana is very important. I'm very excited about that. If you know someone, and by the way, neither me or marijuana, Amanda or the let's go get high type, I've never even tried it. I don't know if Amanda has or not. I'll ask her Monday.
Me either.
But yeah, if you know people who are interested in marijuana, interested in hemp, interested in medical marijuana, make sure they tune in on Monday to see Amanda. They don't even have to be where she is, because maybe they give her a little coin to help her. We definitely want Amanda to win her race.
The person she's running against is the main person blocking medical marijuana in the state. And
now you ruin the surprise on Monday.
Well, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to prep it, because listen, it's an important. That's an important race. It's very important.
It is.
And I've never, like you, Rob, I've never smoked marijuana, never consumed it. But you and I both know somebody who has benefited from medicinal marijuana. And I don't know if you know that you know the person. I don't know that you know that they've been benefited from it. But the reality is it's opioids or marijuana for this person. And they do not like opioids.
Right.
They're in pain, but they don't like the opioids. They don't like the cloudy. I mean, it's never been my key issue, but it's one where that really, seeing that up close and personal, it's a big deal. So yeah, that's important. I hope people tune in for that, because it's a big deal.
I tried coding once on the painkiller after they did surgery on me. I mean, I thought I was okay, but it's like that top 4 or 5% was just missing. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, I was described to me as walking. It's like a walking daydream / nightmare kind of thing for him.
It wasn't that bad with me. I just didn't have those final few percent I needed to do what I was trying to do. I didn't like it.
Right, so like, right. Yeah,
I'm getting rid of these.
Fog, and yeah, he described it as a fog. He hated it. It's yeah. So that's important.
All right.
And by the way, Rob, just to wrap this all up, thank you for running.
Oh,
because
certainly.
you are doing what we need to do, which is go out and help build county parties. You're going out and trying to help build the county parties. in some ways selfishly at the moment because it helps your campaign.
Sure.
But I know that's, one of your key goals is to help keep growing the party. And we need to keep doing that. And so that the next person that steps up next time has the base that you built to work from. And so That's the goal.
We're going to have to cut this up into 6 shows or something.
Whatever. We wander, we're friends. We just, it's the ADD kicks in and all of a sudden we're talking about all kinds of stuff, but
So share this, make sure you're pro marijuana, pro medical marijuana, pro cannabis people. Make sure all of them know to tune in to meet Amanda on Monday. I think that's going to be a really great show. And we're going to
Monday.
Yeah, we're going to end it now before me and Ken talk about anything else. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, everybody.